Hi everyone, Morgan Hibbs here with Lynn County Farm Bureau. I'm so excited to be visiting your classroom virtually for another Ag in the Classroom lesson. Today we are going to learn about water quality. Now, what do we use water for in agriculture? Can you brainstorm as a class? How important is water to growing the food and the products that we use every day? Well, just to give you an idea of how important water is to us, I have some pictures here of ways that we use water in agriculture. So the first picture here is of cranberry harvest. Now, cranberries don't grow in this much water, but we do use water to help harvest the cranberries. The cranberries float, and water helps to bring the cranberries to the top of the water, and then we use a big corralling system, this big boom, to help bring the cranberries to a suction pump that takes them into the machine. We also use water in places for crops for irrigation that don't get enough rain. So southern states here in Iowa, we are pretty fortunate that we get enough rain for our corn and soybean fields. But even when you go to southern Iowa, Missouri, or if you've seen, there's a sod farm here just near northern Lynn County that uses an irrigation system that has a pivoting system that sprays water on the grass, just like this picture is spraying it on the cornfield here. So we can use water to irrigate the crops. We have livestock and animals that are drinking the water. So here's a chicken drinking out of a watering system, and chickens might not drink as much water as some other livestock like beef. Cattle can drink a bathtub of water a day. So some animals can drink a significant amount of water. And here's a picture of two dairy cows that are drinking water. This is an onion field. So this is a different type of irrigation. This is a furrow type of irrigation where we flood in between the rows. So what is a watershed? Well, you have an Iowa Ag Today publication in your kit. If you don't have one of our kits, then you have the link to this online. And this is Iowa's Invaluable Natural Resources. I encourage you to read the front page about sun, soil, water, and air. But then I would really like to highlight this middle section where it says, what is a watershed? I'm going to read that section, so if you would like to follow along, what is a watershed? A watershed is the area of land that water drains off into a lake or stream. They are everywhere. Watersheds can be small, like the area around a small creek near your school. Watersheds are also big, like all of the land that drains into the Cedar River. This watershed spans 5,020,914 acres, or 7,485 square miles. It includes land in 29 counties in Iowa and Minnesota. So here is the Cedar River on a map. And today we are going to do an activity with watersheds where we are going to look at what happens up in the northern part of Iowa and how it might affect downstream. So we have a news article here that is going to tell us what our situation is. Okay, so the Des Moines Daily, the river is declared impaired. The State Environmental Agency has identified the Cedar River as being too polluted to support life the way it should. The biggest culprits are nitrogen and sediment pollution coming from sources all around the greater Cedar River watershed. In an attempt to clean up the Cedar River, the state has awarded grant money to the local Cedar River Watershed Association. Cedar River Watershed Association will be meeting tonight to make a plan on how to spend the money. New volunteers are welcome to join the association at tonight's meeting. So we are going to look first to see what the situation is with a science experiment, and where on our map along the Cedar River, where it's polluted and maybe what is happening to cause that pollution. Now, why is this important? Not only is it important to agriculture because we use water for so many things and we don't want it to be polluted, but we are also drinking this water, and we are using the water. Water is a resource that we can't live without, and we want to make sure that we're protecting that resource. This is also, the Cedar River is one watershed. So a watershed is anywhere where bodies of water are coming together to meet. So that point of intersection where they are coming together to become one, that is the point of a watershed. This is important too because eventually, if you look at the map, the Cedar River is going to dump into the Mississippi River. And where does the Mississippi River go into? The Gulf of Mexico. So it's all going to become one body of water when it reaches the Gulf of Mexico. And what happens with the wildlife and the fish and things in the Gulf of Mexico is really important too, because we can help to improve the pollution that's in our waterways. Okay, so today we are going to do a fun science experiment looking at how the water can be carried downstream and how there can be pollution in there as well, and what happens in all the way at the top of the river will affect what happens at the bottom of the river because of that downstream motion. I'm going to turn the camera around and show you the science experiment. Once you look at the science experiment, I'm going to set it up for you. You can do this as a class. I encourage you. I'm going to go through the whole science experiment with you, but I also encourage you to do this activity yourself. So if you want to do it with me, you can. Or if you would like to pause this video, the teacher can watch to see what is happening in the science experiment, give directions, and then the students can do the activity, and then you can resume play to see what the final kind of discussion looks like. To set up the watershed activity, you will need a map that has A through H. You will need 8 cups. I recommend using clear cups so that way you can see the water inside. Fill the cup with just about an inch of water at the bottom. You will also need food coloring, blue, red, and green. We have some Secchi disc here that will help to show us the turbidity or the clearness of the water. So turbidity is the amount of sediment that is in the water. So if you can see the Secchi disc underneath the cup, then it's a pretty clear water source. But if you can't see the Secchi disc, then it's pretty cloudy, meaning that there's quite a bit of sediment or soil particles in this water. We will also need these water test result cards that will tell us what to do with each cup and what is happening as we move downstream. So if you look at the map, we start with cup A and we move all the way down to cup H. And along the way we have different counties and towns and things happening. So we have a construction site, a cornfield, we have a big parking garage. So we have lots of things going on as we reach downstream. We're going to go through and look at what the directions are. The directions are highlighted in yellow of what to do in each cup. You can take turns doing this in a group, so I encourage you to be in groups of 3 to 5 and taking turns going through and reading the directions and following the cups as we move downstream. The cup are representing the river, so you can see we have 8 cups. And we have 8 spots along the river, so it's following the Cedar River as we go down. So this cup system right here is representing the Cedar River. Okay, so first in cup A, we have add nothing to the cup. And if you would like to mark these with permanent marker, you can definitely do so that way you know which cup is which. But in cup A, we are going to add nothing to the cup. In cup B, we are going to add 1 green drop. It only takes 1. We want to follow the directions pretty closely so that way we can see what happens at the end of the science experiment. And I would like you to just mix this slowly by twirling the cup. We don't want to splash it, but all you need to do is move the cup slowly. And that is represented by 1 parts per million nitrate, and a nitrate is a type of nutrient that can be found in the water that's run off from the soil. In cup C, please add 1 green drop. Okay, let's mix these up. What do you notice about the river as we move downstream? Did what happened in cup A affect what happened in cup H? You can notice that the colors get darker as we move downstream. We do have one exception here in the middle where we didn't have quite as much pollution. So maybe we had grass that helped to filter out the nutrients that were in the water or the sediment. So pollution can be lots of different things that we're talking about here and different things that can be found in the water. So we can have nutrients like nitrates. We can also have sediment, which is soil. So there's lots of different things that we can have. And then we can also have pollution like trash or different things that can be in the water that's not supposed to be in the water. So you notice here that what happens in cup A was traveled downstream because we had cup from cup as we moved down, so it just kept adding the amount of pollutants that were in the water. Eventually, when it gets down to the Mississippi and then to the Gulf of Mexico, everything that happened in Iowa here affects what happens to the Gulf of Mexico. We can see that it's both agriculture and we can see that it's things in town. Like here near Cedar Rapids, we have factories and lots of different companies and things that are right next to the river. We have a parking garage that has lots of cars here in it and cement and not a whole lot of anything filtering out before it enters the water. Here we have another, it looks like a transportation company place. And then we have some beef farm. This looks like a water plant. We have a dairy farm, corn farm here. Here's a farmer doing some tillage. So everyone plays a role in this. And so it's important that we all work together because agriculture is needed to provide us food and products, and we need the factories to help make the products. So we need all of this, but we also want to make sure that we're protecting our waterways. Okay, let's check to see what the Secchi disc looks like underneath. So you can see the Secchi disc underneath this first cup. You can really see it. But all the way down here, you cannot see it anymore. So we can also see it a little bit in this cup. So that's just measuring the amount of turbidity or the amount of sediment that is in the water. In the beginning, we talked about all the ways that we rely on water in agriculture, how we need water to help grow and raise all of the plants and animals that we need to survive, and the food and the products that we use every day. Water is also very important for providing our bodies with what it needs, and then also for wildlife and for supporting and sustaining a great environment to live in. We talked about how it takes all of us. We all play a role in this, and we all can work together to help make sure our water stays clean. Inside of the Iowa Ag Today is a look at what farmers are doing today to help care for the water. So in the beginning, we read the Des Moines Daily and talked about how we were going to decide how we could help to improve the water. So you can talk amongst yourselves what you can do today as a class to help keep our water clean. Inside of this Iowa Ag Today is a way that farmers are, and here in Iowa, are helping to make sure that they do their part to care for the water. So these are some just different practices that farmers can implement on their farm to help do their part. And we have things like cover crops, no-till farming, buffer zones, terraces, bioreactors, and down here is a little career corner that you can learn about some careers in agriculture. So I encourage you to take a look at these, read these either maybe in small groups, individually, or as a class. Thank you everyone. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you everyone for participating, and I look forward to seeing you virtually next month.